Welcome to Crossplane Nation. I'm going to install a set of these custom LED whips that I made here from CB antennas. And the video here is going to show you how to run the wires, install the rocker switches, and how I'm going to mount these to the roll bar right here on this side and then on the other side. To power the LEDs, instead of tapping into the factory wiring harness in the back where the brake lights are at, I have a dedicated fuse block here that runs from the battery that I'm going to power all of my accessories from. And so from the fuse block, we'll send that power to the switches. And I'm actually going to run two switches, one for the left, one for the right LED whip here. I'm going to take this top cover off right up here by the hood section. To do that, you need to remove a couple more of these T-bolts here. So you see 4 of them right there. And then we're also going to remove these 2 clips as well. Ready to remove this guy here in the middle. It just pops right out. These are the switches that I'm going to use here for the LED whips. They do have an LED light that illuminates on. However, we're not going to use that function just because I'm not wiring these up to the ignition switch. They're going to be wired up to the fuse block that I've installed. So let me show you how the switch works here. The top terminal is your 12 volt in. The bottom one is your 12 volt out. And so you can see here, flip the switch off, flip the switch on. So the top terminal goes from the battery to the switch, and then the bottom terminal here, this will actually be ran to the LED whips. So that way when you flip the switch, it turns the LED whips on and off. However, if you want to run the blue LED light here, you'll run a ground wire to this bottom guy right here. And we're simply not going to do that. We're just going to use it for the on-off switch. To cut the holes out for the switches here, we're just going to use this blade. I have the first hole cut out for the first switch. We're just going to kind of test fit it. Looks like it's going to fit nicely. We're going to go ahead and cut this second one out. I'm going to show you how the wiring is going to work here. So this is our fuse block. This is the left and right LED whip switch. And then these are going to be the actual representations of the LED whips here. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to run ground directly from the fuse block to the LED whips. From the fuse block, we go hot in to each switch. Then the switch has a hot out. And then this guy will have a hot out. So the way this works is when you press this switch, power is transferred from the fuse block into the left LED whip. Then when you press this guy, power is transferred from the fuse block to the LED whip. And again, each one of these will have a dedicated fuse on that fuse block. I went ahead and pulled the fuses here on this fuse block. That way I'm not getting any power to the wires that I'm about to run. I'm going to go ahead and wire up the positives first. That way I can send these wires over to the switches. So I have a screwdriver right here that I punched through this rubber grommet. And then what we're going to do is we'll just attach the wires. We'll pull those through and we'll attach them to the switches. Just pulled the wires through. What I have here is the hot in from the fuse block to each one of these switches. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire the hot out. You see I have the fishing line here. We'll go up. This is what I used to run through the roll bar cage so I can pull the wires through on this side. I just used a small little nut here because I need to run a ground wire through the roll bar here. I just took the other end of the roll of wire, taped it onto this guy right here. We'll pull it through and I'll be good to go. To run the wire through this guy here, all I did was just take some heavy gauge wire and just push that through, fished it out on this end, and then I'll pull the hot and the ground through this. And then what I think I'm going to end up having to do is come down right here and zip tie it because I'm actually going to mount the LEDs right here on this. All right, switches are in place. I've already identified which of the two wires is the hot and the ground here. I'm ready to go ahead and hook up the ground wires here to the fuse block since I have everything ran through the roll bars. These are the mounts that I'm going to use here. They're made by Tusk. What I love about these is that they're fully adjustable here. And so the way I'm going to mount the LED whips is I'm actually going to mount a quick disconnect first. Then we'll go above the quick disconnect. I'm going to mount a spring, and then on the spring we'll mount the LED whips. Okay, let's see how it works here. We're going to flip the switch. This is what it looks like mounted up here. So this is our quick release adapter. I have a pretty light duty spring here, the LED whip. Let me demonstrate how these quick releases work here. Just press down, pop that up. You can remove the LED whip really quickly, and you can install it really quickly as well. To address the wiring issue here when I remove the antenna, I bought a set of these guys here. They're just quick release wires. You can see how easy they're going to be to connect and disconnect. So that's how I'll disconnect the wires up here. I'll be able to remove the antenna really quickly whenever I put this in the garage. Have all the wires here wrapped with this plastic loom tubing here. Zip tied them down to the factory wiring. Now I'm ready to go ahead and put the front panels back on. All right, I have this side wired up here. Goes all the way down the roll bar, just zip tied that. I have the electrical quick disconnect set up right here, and I gave myself enough wire to where I can disconnect that. I'll probably go back and take this tape off and use heat shrink tubing, but for now it's going to be all right. Now all I need to do is just go to the other side, run the wires over there. We'll test it out at night. These things look like lightsabers. This is about 15 feet from the side-by-side. Man, these things are bright. The other thing I like about these custom LED whips is that I'm actually going to do more colors than just the hot pink. And I can come right over here, swap them out with those quick disconnects that I have for the electrical pieces. See how bright these are behind the side-by-side. That's incredible. Even in the cab it's got a little light. You can see how bright they are in front as well.